everyone. I'll call the meeting to order for today's Land Use and Committee. Before we start, Eden Blair would like to attend via phone. I need a first and second to Linda, second. Sharon, okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carried. Before we're going to go on, it looks like we have a lot of people here that would like to speak today for public comment, which is wonderful. Jenny's going to give the ground rules for it so everybody knows ahead of time what the rules are for coming up to speak. Jenny?
Thank you, Chairman. Because we have a lot of citizens in the audience, we just wanted to go through some of the rules. Per the county board's rules for public comment, with the consent of the members of this specific committee, we'll use the board's rule about public comment being reasonably limited to 30 minutes total. That's always our parameter. Total of 30 minutes for everyone. Each citizen is allowed 5 minutes. So obviously quick mental math is that would be 6 individuals. There are a lot more individuals here than 6. So we wanted to explain that at the top of the meeting so that if citizens want to make sure that comments aren't redundant, or if you want to select a few people, you can coordinate those efforts while we go through the rest of the business of the committee. You can also have more than 6 people and just not use the 5 minutes. Of course, that's up to the individuals who are here. Another one of the county board's parameters for public comment is that we ask people to sign in to speak and to put these little slips of paper up for the chairperson so that we can keep things orderly. I will leave these here in case you want to do that coordinating and some of these folks don't end up speaking. So I'll set those there. The public comment portion of the meeting is on the agenda as item number 6. So we will handle the rest of the agenda first, and the CO2 pipeline is not an item on the agenda today. Let's see. 2 reminders that public comment is just comments by the public. It's not a Q&A or a debate with any of the committee members, so they won't respond. It will just be a chance for citizens to literally comment. And then we always ask that everyone keep things professional and that we maintain decorum for this business meeting. And did I leave anything else out, or any questions from the committee members? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Moving on, I'd like to approval of the minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes, please? Linda, a second. Matt, any additions or corrections on today's minutes? All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, we're up to the fun part today, the budget. I'm going to do, we've got the planning and zoning grant fund. I'm going to ask a motion for both of them at the same time, and then we'll just go over it. Sharon, a second. Danny, okay. Scott?
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As we do with all the committees, we have a brief summary of the entire budget and the portion of the budget that this committee has oversight of. So we'll start with that. You can see the entire budget as recommended has $150.62 million in sources or revenues. The largest portion of that is in intergovernmental revenues. So that's income tax, sales tax, personal property replacement tax, and salary reimbursements and grants. You'll note that property taxes is the 3rd largest of the revenue sources that we have throughout the course of the year. On the uses or expenditure side, the recommended budget has an amount of $154 million and just a shade under 900,000, so $154,900,000. And our largest use of those dollars is $60.4 million, and that's in personnel-related costs, wages, benefits, pension obligations, and the like. Talk about property taxes for a moment. The recommended rate is 82.41 pennies per $100 of equalized assessed value. That is the current rate and is consistent with the board's longstanding policy of keeping that rate flat. That when you apply that rate to the taxable property in Peoria County, you get a levy of $31,342,000 and change. That $31 million is divided by the pie wedges that you see on the screen. The blue and gray represent our operating funds. The yellow and tan represent our pension-related funds. In some years, you would have seen a third color as well. That would be a debt service fund. There are no property taxes levied or recommended to be levied in the debt service fund for FY24. That being said, one of your operating levies, the Headington Oaks levy, is those dollars are then used to make a debt service payment, but that is an operating levy, not a debt service levy. The change in equalized assessed value across the entire county based on the assessment notices that all of us received here in the last month or so is 6.7%. As the chairman noted, you have two budgets under your purview and jurisdiction. One's a general fund department, that being planning and zoning. The other being the grant fund that we use to account for any grants that the department may receive throughout the course of the year. The recommended revenues are $488,500, and the expenditures are $833,94. As it relates to the entire budget, those revenues and expenses account for less than 1% of the total county budget as recommended. Because we have a general fund department under your discretion and supervision, we show you a picture of what the entire general fund looks like. This is our general corporate fund. Revenues and expenditures are recommended to be balanced at $56,770,000 and some change. You can see intergovernmental revenues, again, largest revenue source. And then our personnel expenses are our largest expense in the general fund. How does your general fund allocation compare to the rest of the general fund, and as it's divided by the committees? You have 1% or roughly 1% of the revenues and a little bit more than 1% of the expenditures. So that's a very high-level overview, Mr. Chairman. We're obviously prepared and happy to answer any questions that you and the committee may have. Before I turn it back over to you, though, I'd like to say thank you to the departments and the offices throughout the entire organization that worked on preparing this year's budget and getting us to this place, including Kathy Urban, the Planning and Zoning Department Director, who's this committee has oversight of. Also, kudos and appreciation to Heather and the finance team for all the work that they did. If you recall, in January, we implemented a new finance software called Munis. We also, this time around, implemented a new budget book software. Instead of using just Excel and Word like we have for eons, we actually have a web-based product now called a Pattern Stream that talks directly to Munis. Had a few hiccups this year, but overall, very pleased and happy to answer any questions that the committee may have. I will note at your desks there should be a packet of materials with a paperclip. You'll find one green sheet in there. It'll be loose 3 and loose 4. There's no change to that. It's just a replacement page. In your original book, there were Pattern Stream didn't print everything off, so this is just a replacement to show that all that information is correctly represented, including committee membership. So happy to answer any questions, Mr. Chair.
Do we have any questions for Scott? Sharon?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you go to the first slide, Scott? Since we have so many folks here, we did we're going to pass, hopefully, a balanced budget, but I wanted you to explain why the funds and the uses of funds, there's a difference of over 3 million.
Sure thing, Ms. Williams. So, as I said, the general fund, which is roughly a third of these numbers, is balanced. That means that the rest, the other 2/3, or the rest of the budget, is not in balance, and that's strictly revenues to expenses. However, to get to a balanced budget, there is also occasionally, and is the case with this budget, intended and planned use of fund balance or reserves. So a good example of how we would do that is we have a major bridge project planned on Maxwell Road next year. We've been building up the reserves in the bridge fund over a number of years to be able to pay for that project. All the engineering is complete. All the state and federal money that we're going to get has been identified and will come in. The only thing that's remaining is the local match, and so we will take from the reserves of the county bridge fund to fund the local match of that project so that we can complete that project. That's just one of numerous examples of how we use reserves in a planned and intended fashion.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I have more.
You got another one, Sharon?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I noticed that we have an addition of one part-time plumbing inspector. Can you go into a little more detail about that, Scott, please?
Absolutely. We've got some planned retirements or retirement in the planning and zoning department. Our current inspector that we believe is going to be retiring does all of our plumbing inspections. It requires a special licensure by the state of Illinois. Finding a plumber that's licensed to do those inspections versus actually doing the plumbing as a contractor we anticipate, based on some early feelers, it's going to be a challenge. So what Kathy and her team did was recommend that we fill the inspection position when it becomes vacant, but we also change some of those duties, and I'll let her talk a little bit of detail about that if you'd like. But then we also have a part-time plumbing inspection position. That way we can work with the plumbers local. We don't put any potential retired plumber in jeopardy of losing their plumber's pension or their plumber's health insurance should they be choosing it, and it allows us to get the number of hours that we need for inspections.
All right, Sharon. Sure. In taking a look at the type of inspections that we've had over the last several years, most of them are, of course, residential construction. There's some new, but lots of alterations. We're looking to fill the full-time inspector with someone who has more of a broad background in in that type of work versus only the plumbing. However, we realize we need someone with only that plumbing. That's who we're going to find for the plumbing license. The number of plumbing inspections would dictate that we're looking for a 24-hour per week individual. That person would also do some other general type building inspections such as fences and free up some time as well. But having that full-time inspector who would have more experience and more easily pass the residential and commercial certification exams would be beneficial.
Got another one, then, Sharon?
I
Go
got
ahead.
one more. Thank you. So when we had our strategic plan, we had talked about updating our comprehensive land use plan. So one of you want to cover that for me? Thanks.
Go ahead, Kathy.
Yes, we're looking forward to updating our comprehensive land use plan. It was adopted in 2009. It was intended to be a 20-year plan, so it's time to start looking at it. We've had some preliminary conversations with Tri-County Regional Planning Commission. They've done some other comprehensive planning with a third-party consultant just starting in the area this year. There is an IDOT, it's called the SPR, Statewide Planning and Research Grant, that should be available next spring. It is a 20% match grant, And one of the parameters is that they ask you on the grant application is have you budgeted for that match? So the $60,000 is the budget for the match of what we anticipate asking for in the grant application.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, all in favor of the budget for the land use, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Okay, motion passed unanimously. Okay, let me get back to my agenda there. Okay. Next, we have the reports, the Tri-County Regional Planning Commission minutes. Any questions on that? Okay, unsafe structures, any questions on that? And the last one's a development summary. Okay, we'll file and receive those reports then. Up next is the zoning cases. The first one's ZBA-2023-0036, petition of RPIL Solar 7 LLC. Can I have a motion to put that on the floor? Linda, Jimmy? Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. This is a special use request for a 4.99 megawatt solar energy generation facility. This would be on the northern 36 acres of an 84.8 acre parcel located on Route 150 in Kickapoo Township. This is right adjacent to their Ameren substation that's along there. There are no consents and no objections on file for this case. The parcel consists of 2 single-family dwellings and agricultural buildings on the southern portion of the property, along with some agricultural fields. Agricultural fields, along with a small stretch of timber and a lake, are located on the northern portion of the parcel. The panels would be located on the northern portion around that lake. The subject parcel is currently zoned A2 agriculture, along with all surrounding parcels. The parcel to the east is agricultural, and agricultural fields and a single-family dwelling are adjacent to the west. That Ameren substation is to the east, and across Route 50 to the south is the Ameren Illinois Gas Operations Center and the Bethany Baptist Church. The request is consistent with the surrounding agricultural, institutional, and public utility land uses. The proposed facility will include rows of photovoltaic cell panels with single-axis tracking technology that will move with the panels for maximum efficiency, or move with the sun, I'm sorry. In order to minimize impact on neighboring residential properties, the panels are designed to absorb the sun, not reflect it. Noise generated would be minimal and not be noticeable to neighboring properties or participating or on-site residences. The nearest non-participating dwelling would be located approximately 748 feet from the solar panels. The petitioner will install a 7 feet chain link fence to enclose the panels and all of the electrical equipment. There will be required warning signs and a Knox box for 24-hour emergency access. The petitioner will use a perennial vegetative natural ground cover and would be required to maintain that ground cover. The proposal meets the standards of our Unified Development Ordinance for subjects such as setbacks, height, design, installation, lighting, security fencing, that warning signage, and decommissioning plan will be required prior to permitting. That decommissioning plan would include financial security. The petitioner has submitted their utility connection pre-application report from Ameren. They have an approval letter from the Broomfield Fire Protection District. The Health Department had no objections. IDOT had no objections. The FAA has issued a letter indicating no hazard to air navigation. IDNR has reviewed the proposal and found no threatened or endangered species in the project area. This had a low LISA score and rating for agricultural protection. This is consistent with our land use map, which designates it as agriculture. It's consistent with the plan's environmental stewardship theme, which encourages environmentally friendly technology. It's consistent with the Peoria County growth strategy of generating economic opportunity and stability. It is within a mile-and-a-half jurisdiction of the City of Peoria. We did not have comments from the City of Peoria. The Kickapoo Township Planning Commission had no objection to this request. Staff recommended approval with the 7 restrictions in your packet there. and the zoning board recommended approval with the same restrictions unanimously.
Thank you, Kathy. Do we have any questions for Kathy on this zoning case? Jimmy?
Thank you, Chairman Rosenbaum. I had the pleasure of speaking at a solar conference last Wednesday and had Kathy get me the data for what we've done here recently in solar. And so just interesting for note, we've had 41 applications since basically 2018 with 36 solar farms approved. One to come into the county board, which is this one in October, one in ZBA in October, with 3 withdrawn. We've had 4 permitted, which 2 are currently online. So we've permitted 135.686 megawatts, with 6 megawatts online and 4 getting ready to come online. So I just thought that was important to note how many. And to the credit at that conference, it was brought up about how good our standards were and how many counties copied our standards, and what credit to our ZBA staff for their investigating and compiling a statute that became the model.
Thank you. And thank you, staff, for doing such a great job. Any other questions? Okay, let's bring to the vote. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed unanimously. Okay, we're up to the next ZBA zoning case. It's ZBA-2023-0040, petition of Marilyn Strickfaden. Can I have a motion to put that on the floor? Linda, second. Terry? Okay.
This request is to modify a special use request which was granted in July of 2024. At that time, Ms. Strickfaden requested to divide 4 acres from an existing 38-acre tract in order to settle an estate. She would now like to divide 5 acres rather than 4 acres, so she needed to come forward to modify that request. There is an existing structure on the parcel, a house as well as an agricultural structure that will remain. The remaining land other than the 5 acres will remain cropland. No cropland will be taken out of production. There were no consents or objections on file. The parcel is located on Turbot Road in Logan Township. This parcel and all surrounding parcels are zoned A1 Ag Preservation. There are similarly sized residential parcels in the area, especially within 400 feet of the subject parcel. So this is consistent with the surrounding area. The parcel is served by public water and private septic. There were no objections from the health department. This tract would be accessed via an existing gravel drive to Turbot Road. The remaining farmland could be accessed from the petitioner's own land, which is adjacent to the east. However, the Logan Township Road Commissioner stated that there is opportunity to come from Turbot Road as well if that is needed. The request is consistent with the county's land use plan designation of ag preservation, as we're keeping that farmland in production and preserving the homestead. Staff recommended approval, and the zoning board also recommended approval unanimously.
Any questions for Kathy? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed unanimously. Okay, we're up to public comment. And before we start, like I said, there's quite a few people here, so if you're not, if some of you want to give your time to somebody else, that's fine. Else, we're going to try to get through as many of these as we can. Please be, courteous to everyone here. No disparaging remarks. And I'll start by going through the list, and we'll have people come up. Please, when you come up, state your name and your address, and we'll go from there. Okay, the first one I got is Bob Jansen.
I've got 30 total. Keeping the 30 minutes. Is that what you need?
Yeah, she'll keep the 30. Okay.
one person, that would be their max.
Okay,
One
I'm Bob Jansen, President of Peoria County Farm Bureau, and I'm here representing Peoria County Farm Bureau today. We have sent a letter out and taken a stand. We are currently asking for a moratorium be placed on the pipeline, at least until the pipeline updates have been completed by the Pipeline Hazardous Material Safety Administration, and it's our understanding that this will happen in October of 2024. There are sincere safety concerns about the CO2 pipeline under an extreme amount of pressure to keep the product in liquid form for transport. Presently, gas and oil is normally under 400 to 600 pounds. This material will be under 1,800 to 2,100 pounds of pressure. If the pipeline is constructed, we question whether the jobs created by the local residents will happen. Mostly these people follow the pipeline and they'll check into the union hall and you'll see a very few people hired. This pipeline is scheduled to run through about 40 miles in Peoria County with estimated to affect a lot of homes and towns. The last time we're aware that the pipeline safety hazard was updated was 2010. And I'm speaking from 40 years of construction experience as a safety director for a large construction company. These standards are not up to date for CO2 pipelines because 2010 hardly anybody knew what the word CO2 pipeline was, and there was no standards for that. So we need the standards for the pipe thickness, the coatings, and all those materials, and that needs to be in the standard, and this ADM Wolf project needs to be covered under that platform. Property values will also decrease by the lines being close to towns and houses. There's a lot of property that's could be developed close to, especially Hannah City. There's some property that is in the village limits. It's farm agricultural land now, could be developed, but with the pipeline going through, it definitely can't be done. So, and we're hearing that in many areas when the pipeline is close coming through, due to the safety hazards, the property values are decreasing. And as many of you might know, it's either South Dakota or North Dakota in the last few days have just put a moratorium on the pipeline period due to the fact that the project there, they will not tell the study of the kill zone for the CO2. Basically, this is a stance of the Peoria County Farm Bureau. I've been authorized to make this statement. We cannot violate the Illinois Farm Bureau rules policy, which is established every year in December. I will be writing tomorrow 2 resolutions to the Illinois Farm Bureau to change that policy. Number one, for the moratorium, which we wrote this letter. I've already got a reprimand letter from the Illinois Farm Bureau president, but we knew that was coming. But we felt we had to take a stance for the members of Peoria County. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I've got 9 more people. If we cut it down to 3 minutes, everybody can speak that I've got papers for. Is that okay with everyone? Okay, I'm going to go that route. The next person is Rebecca Cox.
Okay. I appreciate you taking the time to hear me out today. My name is Rebecca Cox. I live at 8825 South Powell Road in Peoria, and I come to speak to you on behalf of myself, my husband, and our neighbors about the carbon pipeline project that is proposed by Wolf Carbon Solutions that is mapped to come through Peoria County. I also work for a unit of government, and I understand that as a county, you do not have the jurisdiction to regulate this pipeline project. However, you do have the power to ensure that the safety of your constituency in relation to this project. We understand that the committee is considering a resolution that would issue a moratorium on permits for pipeline construction under new safety rules regarding CO2 pipelines to go into effect. We strongly urge you as the committee to adopt this resolution. I'm sure you'd agree that your constituents deserve a reasonable expectation of safety in their own homes. We have been sent literature from Wolf Carbon Solutions talking about their, quote, commitment to safety, unquote, but at the same time, we see them rushing to get legislation passed and permits in hand before these federal regulations regarding the projects are finalized. In speaking with state representatives, I've been informed that the new federal regulations are expected within the next 24 months. This pipeline project intends to break ground in Q2 of 2025. If Wolf Carbon Solutions truly was committed to our safety, then they would welcome these regulations. Instead, they are fast-tracking their project, presumably to avoid having to operate under the regulations designed to ensure safer and improved conditions for the public, and particularly those most directly affected by the pipeline's construction and long-term operation. As a land use committee and as our elected representatives of Peoria County, we would like to see you show a true commitment to the safety of those that live within your jurisdiction. How can we ever feel safe in our own homes again, knowing that the volatile substance moving beneath us was put in without regulation and oversight for safety? It seems prudent to postpone construction of the pipeline an additional 12 months in order to install and operate a pipeline that is expected to have a lifespan of 50 plus years and in order to ensure the safety of your constituents. My husband's neighbors and I truly hope that you will vote in favor of adopting the resolution for the moratorium on permit issuance for the carbon pipeline, because a vote in favor of this is a vote for the safety of the county that you serve and all of the people in it. I am happy to make myself available for any further questions that you may have at this time or in the future. Mr. Chairman has been provided with my contact information. Thank you for your time.
Sorry, Jimmy. Next person's Monica Neff.
Hello, I'm Monica Neff, and I live at 501 North Brad Court in Hannah City, Illinois. I recently came to know about the CO2 pipelines because I'm an impacted property owner. And going around, I've been gratefully gracious with the people that are willing to help and stand up against this. And from walking around my community, only impacted property owners know about this. Our entire communities need to know about this. There is no research done on this, what happens to the liquefied gas as it's put into the ground, what will happen to our generations in the future. I'm requesting that we stand up and we put a moratorium against this until we know more information and have a better understanding of the impact in the future that this will cause. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Benjamin Atkins.
Hi, my name is Ben Atkins. I live at 9800 West McCullough Road. I ask that you guys look deep in this proposition and help me protect my family, my community, and my land. I'm against the CO2 pipeline in the state of Illinois. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Melissa Alvey.
Hello, I live in the Mapleton area and I am a landowner on the Wolf Carbon Solutions pipeline route. It worries me because it will either go through my property or be close enough for me to be in the sacrifice or kill zone if there's a serious rupture. There are totally inadequate safety standards to build these pipelines and protect landowners from their property being taken by eminent domain by a private company for private gain, no less. Yes, profit is important to the American economic system. We want jobs and industry, but every once in a while, logic has to have its day, and safety needs to be paramount over money. I'm concerned about obviously my friends, my neighbors, my family, and our people down the road decades from now. It will reduce my property values. Our emergency response system is not capable of handling this kind of a crisis. There's a rush to build them because the federal government tax credits. CO2 is a waste product for which the companies get all the profit and the people in Peoria County will bear all the risk. As Peoria County board members, I expect you to take action to protect people like me and others in Peoria County. Do not wait to get concerned until Wolf and Biojura, sorry, I pronounced that wrong, Biojura, decide they want to come up through the south side of Peoria. In response to a pipeline permit application further south, other county boards have adopted moratorium resolutions. Please look into that. Also listen to the Peoria County Farm Bureau. You do have a role in the Wolf Carbon Solutions pipeline decision. Please stand up for me and my fellow residents and at a minimum, tell the Commerce Commission to not authorize any permit until new federal regulations are effective. We need at a minimum a moratorium vote by the county board and ideally a vote to oppose the CO2 pipelines. Taking the stance of not adopting a moratorium or not taking a position either way is a win for Wolf. As a county board, you have made many decisions to protect the health and safety of our residents, the integrity of our roads and buildings. Why would you not want to have a say in protecting us from these CO2 pipelines? I urge you to take action to oppose, adopt a moratorium, and intervene in the Wolf Carbon Illinois Commerce Commission CO2 pipeline permit application. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Joyce Blumenshine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson, committee. We appreciate your time today. Joyce Blumenshine, 2419 East Reservoir. I'm in Peoria. I am in solidarity with every person here whose lives, their heart, their spirit, their farms are weighing on them now due to fears of eminent domain, fears of a toxic high-pressure carbon dioxide pipeline that, as long as it's fine, it's fine. One incident could mean seconds, minutes, not long, until perhaps they, their prize animals or others could be unconscious from lack of oxygen. I think you know the details about CO2. Earlier today, I did send you an email, has a link to the Ansel Glink legal opinion that counties are legally okay to have a moratorium. I agree that maybe not every lawyer agrees. And I hear different things from different people on county board on what is the real view of this county. So I urge you as board members, as committee members, to please figure this out. I respect you have a lot on your agendas, but this is really important. For all the people here today, and please, everyone here today about the pipeline, raise your hand, raise a sign. Please look around. These are people personally affected for their lives and future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joyce. Next, Dwayne Arrington.
I'm Dwayne Arrington. I live at 6109 South Adams, and just came here to ask for the moratorium on the pipeline. Just in thinking that, kind of as an average person, don't know much about what's going on. You think when you hear a little bit about the pipeline, you just see that there's risk there, that those risks can be big, and that for the average person living in this area, there's not much benefit. So I would just ask for the moratorium, and I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Next is Kimberly Strack.
I'm Kimberly Strack. I live at 9820 West McCullough Road in Peoria. I'm asking that you place a moratorium on the CO2 pipeline. This will put a pause on it so that more safety regulations can be placed on it. My husband grew up 1 mile down the road from where we live. Now, almost all of his friends and family call this area home. My husband and I do what we can to preserve our planet. We compost, we recycle, we bring cloth bags when we go shopping. We have free-range chickens. We have solar panels. We do not use pesticides in our yard. We leave wild areas for the animals to live. We care a lot about where we are living and what we are leaving for our children and grandchildren, and the future generations after that. The CO2 pipeline can put our families, friends, neighbors, and future generations in danger. This company needs to understand that 20 miles between shutoff valves is not acceptable. We need to have EMS teams called immediately and automatically if there's any kind of rupture. We need emergency sirens. We need round-the-clock rescue teams in place. We need electric EMS vehicles and fire trucks. We need a lot more emergency preparedness. We need evacuation plans. We need electric vehicles. We need oxygen masks and tanks to be able to shelter in place. We need a way to protect our pets, farm animals, and wildlife. We need a lot more research to be done before we take a waste product and dump it under our feet in an unstable liquid form that displaces oxygen, which all humans and animals need to breathe. Please adopt a moratorium to pause this project. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, Rachel O'Reilly. Okay. Next, Julia Smith.
I'm Julia Smith. I live at 521 North McAllister Road in Hannah City. I'm asking you guys to enable the moratorium because there is not enough information. I work in an office that would probably benefit from the build of this pipeline, but my background, my degree is in respiratory therapy. Carbon dioxide is a poison. For anyone to say to me, I want to take poison from up here and ship it down here, and I don't care about the people in between, it doesn't make sense. To me, this is a money grab. Wolf has only had their LLC in Illinois for about a year and a half. If you follow the addresses, I mean, it's a Canadian company. They're coming down here, wanting to grab our money. What happens when they build it? They're gone. We all go to bed one night and don't wake up in the morning because carbon dioxide is a poison. There's not enough research. As you're looking at the areas that are impacted, the three largest districts of Peoria County are the three districts that are impacted. Why? Because they're agricultural, there's clean living. It's not logical to take produced poison from a company that is making money, allowing another company to make money to shift it away. There's other options. It's not worth the potential loss that could happen in the area. There's not enough research, and like I said, from a common sense standpoint, there's no reason not to enact a moratorium. And even if that's as far as the board can go, that is making a stance that we don't stand for this. This is not what we want.
Thank you. Okay, next on our agenda, we have miscellaneous. Is there anybody here that has anything for miscellaneous? Mr. Dillon?
Chairman, Andrew and Kathy are here. I wanted to thank them for the hard work and maybe give an explanation of recently, after I feel a year or longer, dealing with FEMA and the flood maps that affected most of downtown Peoria, Chillicothe, and a lot of urban areas. We did get some news on the flood maps, so I appreciate staff's hard work on that, so let them maybe talk about it for a second.
Thank you. Just recently, we received draft preliminary digital flood insurance rate maps, and that's a mouthful. Currently, the flood maps in Peoria County are from 1983. They're hard copy paper, they're falling apart, they have gaps based on different annexations over the years. The new digital maps will be seamless. All jurisdictions will use the same map. The public, the insurance providers, the county will all be able to look at the same digital data. Staff has been allowed an opportunity to review that information well in advance of its public release. We had some questions about it. We worked with the folks at the Illinois State Water Survey. They are the contractors for the University of Illinois, and with FEMA to kind of review some areas of concern, some of those areas that maybe have downtown development, some of our residential areas that are a little bit more densely populated, and some of those historically repetitive loss areas. And so we have internally reviewed that information, shared our comments with the folks that are producing the maps, and then received some very positive feedback. And so just in the last few weeks, we've reviewed that with the administration and provided some comment that we feel very comfortable with what they're providing moving forward. That's not to say there won't be some changes. There certainly will. The river has changed over the last 40 years since these maps were originally released. And so sometime next year, we anticipate that there will be some public meetings for review by those that are impacted and just in general. And we hope to have those adopted in 2024.
Great. Is there any questions for Andrew on that right now? All right. Any other announcements? Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.